Hey everybody, welcome to yet another installment of our Broadway at Google series with Pippin. So I'm Alan Seals with the Talks at Google program, and thank you all very much for coming. So Pippin, back on Broadway for the first time since it thrilled audiences 40 years ago, now won the Tony Award for Best Musical Revival. Beloved score by Tony nominee Stephen Schwartz, Pippin tells the story of a young prince on a death-defying journey to find meaning in his existence. So now, to get us started off, please welcome Dean Massie.
I'm going to live a life that's extraordinary. I know there's something completely fulfilling, and I'm gonna find it. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do or where I want to go, but everything has its season, everything has its time. Show me a reason and I'll soon show you a rhyme. Cats fit on the windowsill, children fit in the snow. Why do I feel I don't fit in anywhere I go? Rivers belong where they can ramble. Eagles belong where they can fly. I've got to be where my spirit can run free. Gotta find my corner of the sky. Every man has his daydreams, every man has his goal. People like the way dreams have of sticking to the soul. Thunderclouds have their lightning, nightingales have their song. And don't you see, I want my life to be something more than long. Rivers belong where they can ramble. Eagles belong where they can fly. I've got to be where my spirit can run free. Gotta find my corner of the sky. So many men seem destined to settle for something small, but I won't rest until I know I'll have it all. So don't ask where I'm going, just listen when I'm gone. And far away you'll hear me singing softly to the dawn. Rivers belong where they can ramble. Eagles belong where they can fly. I've got to be where my spirit can run free. Gotta find my corner of the sky. Yeah. Thanks. This is Bethany Moore.
Hello. I'm your average, ordinary kind of woman, competent and neat, making life a treat, others as nice. You meet often, I know, at least once or twice every lifetime or so. I'm your everyday, customary kind of woman, practical as salt, oh, modest to a fault, conservative with a budget, liberal with a meal, just your average ideal. My telling you this may seem sudden and strange. It may not interest you much at all right now, but things change. things change. Still, I'll understand if I'm not your kind of woman. Anyone can make one terrible mistake, and I've no special glamour, no bait I can twirl, for I'm just a plain, everyday, commonplace, come what may, average, ordinary, wonderful girl.
Sitting on the floor and talking till dawn.
Candles and confidences,
Trading old beliefs and humming old songs.
and lowering old defenses.
Singing a love song. La 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 la. Love song. La 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 la. Private little jokes and silly pet names.
Lavender soap and lotion,
All of the cliches and all of the games.
and all of the strange emotions.
Singing a love song. La 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 la. Love song. La 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 la. They say the whole is greater than the sum of the parts it's made of. Well, if that's true of anything, it's true of love. But how can you define a look or a touch?
How can you weigh a feeling?
Taken by themselves, now they don't mean much. Together they send you reeling into a love song. La 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 la. Love song. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
And now our leading player, Miss Sierra Renee.
Well, I'll sing you the story of a sorrowful lad. He had everything he wanted, didn't want what he had. He had wealth and pelf and name and fame and all of that noise, but he didn't have none of those simple joys. His life seemed purposeless and flat. Aren't you glad you don't feel like that? So he ran from all the deeds he'd done. He ran from things he'd just begun. He ran from himself, which was mighty far to run, out into the country where he played as a boy, where he knew he had to find him some simple joy. He wanted someplace warm and green. We all could use a change of scene. Sweet summer evenings, hot wine and bread, sharing your supper, sharing your bed. Simple joys have a simple voice that says, why not? Go ahead. They wouldn't wouldn't you rather be a left-handed flea, a crab on a slab at the bottom of the sea, than a man who never learns how to be free, not till he's cold and dead? And wouldn't you rather be a left-handed flea, a crab on a slab at the bottom of the sea, a newt on the root of a banyan tree, than a man who never learns how to be free, not till the day he dies? Sweet summer evenings, sapphire skies, feasting your belly, feasting your eyes. Simple joys have a simple voice that says time is living's prize. And wouldn't you rather be a left-handed flea, a crab on a slab at the bottom of the sea, a newt on the root of a banyan tree, or a fig on a twig in Galilee, than a man who never learns how to be free, not till the day, not till the day, not till the day, not till the day he dies. Thank you. Now we're going to bring up one of our amazing actor-acrobats, Orion Griffiths. That's right, give it up, come on. Ladies and gentlemen, feast your eyes on the most difficult and intricate balancing act. Behold, the recklessness of the roller man. Only he can perform such feats as this. Yeah, give it up, let's go, woo! Orion Griffiths.
Let's give everybody another round of applause, that's amazing. Wow. So to help me chat with these folks here in a second, you can bring the chairs up, yeah. We are going to bring up Mark Douglas. Mark Douglas is a New York City comedian who works as one of the two writer-performers on the Barely Political YouTube channel, where their videos have been viewed over 2 billion times. The channel's most popular series, Key of Awesome, made up entirely of funny songs, both original and parody. He also works at Google, so please welcome Mark to the stage.
Hey! Does this work? Okay, good.
Yes. And then rest of, bring the cast up too, you guys. I don't want to just talk to Mark up here.
Yeah, we are not nearly as talented as you guys. I could do that thing with the cylinders, but I just don't. I don't feel like it. Is it good?
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess we can all take a seat. That's the idea. There we go. So, wow, Orion, you are one of the few people in the world who can do that balancing act with 5 cylinders, right?
One of
He's probably one of the only people that wants to do it. So that kind of like narrows it down a little bit right there, right?
It does a little bit, yeah. Nobody else is stupid enough to do it.
Yeah. You don't have a mic? I'll give you mine.
I know I'm not a leading player.
No. Mic's for everyone.
So, okay, yeah, before we get into this, let's go down the line and just briefly introduce yourselves and say what you do with the show.
I'll start. Oh, okay, never mind.
More important than me. So.
I'm Kyle Dean Massie, and I play Pippin.
Can I borrow? Yes. My name's Bethany Moore, and I'm one of the players, and I understudy Catherine.
She's the chicken, guys. She's a chicken. My name is Sierra Renee, and I am playing leading player.
My name's Orion Griffiths, and I really don't know what I do.
He's Roller Bowler Man.
I'm one of the acrobats, and I do all the acrobatics and the cylinder stuff in the show.
So I don't want to focus on this. It just amazes me. Like the cylinder act. Like how long did you train for that? What's your background in life in general?
Background in life, that's a good question. I was born into a family circus, like a small family circus, mum and dad, 8 kids, and so we started training.
Not the comic strip, right?
What?
Not the comic strip.
Nope. The real deal. My world. Yeah, no, just I started training that when I was 6 years old. Yeah, the cylinders thing.
So you're one of how many siblings?
I'm one of 8.
Wow.
Yes.
And can they all do handstands or you're
They all can. Yes. Some are jugglers, handstands, and tumblers. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. So
No more questions.
I could talk about that all day. So right. So Kyle Dean.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your now 3rd week of performances in the show, correct? Yeah?
Yeah, thank you.
So this is obviously a little bit more of a physically demanding show than perhaps roles in the past. Like, what did you have to do, I guess, to prepare for this, or to audition for it? Like, I have no idea where to start with this. The show is so different.
Yeah, it is different. Well, most times when you're a replacement in a show like I am in the show, like they usually give you 2 weeks, sometimes 3 if you're lucky, to learn the role and to get put into the show. And they actually give us 5 weeks with this show, which I've never rehearsed that long for a replacement. But we have to do all kinds of other things, like I had to learn how to throw knives and do a backflip, which Ryan catches me almost every night. Climbing poles and doing all kinds of things that I've never done before. So playing the guitar in this, yeah.
Did you actually play that? That was you playing?
Well, not in that track there, but normally we're sitting on the, and that's why we look like schmucks singing it, because we're normally sitting on the ground and I have a guitar that I'm playing, so I'm like, what do I do with my hands now? But it was great because we got some time to build up our stamina and kind of learn what it takes to do the show. But I'm not going to lie, the first week was really tough. It was really tough.
How does that work with integrating you into a cast that's already working? I don't know anything about how this works, but I feel like, do you have to like rehearse with the cast that's already doing it, or how do you? I mean,
they're working at night, so
yeah.
I mean, every once in a while the cast will get called in. They were very kind to us, and they called everybody in a couple times. But most of the time, Sierra and I came into the show together, so we rehearsed together at a rehearsal studio with a stage manager or on the stage when there wasn't a show. And then they do what they call a put-in. So it's usually a couple days before your first show where the entire cast is called and you run the entire show from beginning to end. You're the only people in costume. And
Yeah.
and sometimes you get lights. Sometimes you get like a drummer or the full orchestra, depending on how fancy they want to be. But you kind of get like a dry run. So there have been some shows where I haven't met the entire cast until my put in.
Oh wow!
There have been times where that, but
put in, that sounds very technical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if for people that have not seen this show, it is incredible. It was sort of like I was telling Sarah that when I describe this show, I sound like that guy Stefan. Like, this has everything. Talking severed heads, fire, Annie pots. That thing where a muscle man gets on the cylinders, But it really does have everything. And, I mean, I'm just blown away. Like, you know, I make YouTube videos and I feel like I'm in the arts, but you guys are just, you guys are bringing it, and it's like, it's amazing because there's so much to watch. You kind of throw down the gauntlet saying we've got magic to do, and then you do it in every form, and it's just really incredible. If you haven't seen it, please go see it. That feels like the end of the interview, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you. I gotta go. I got OKRs. That wasn't a question, but I just wanted to bow down to them for a moment.
So, Sierra, you were also 3 weeks in. You got put in the same time, right? So, was your experience the same? Like, I think you see a lot of shows, and the leads, they don't do all of the dancing and they don't do all of the numbers because it's just so physically demanding night after night. But you guys are doing the acrobatics, and you're jumping like 20 feet off the ground. Kyle Dean's jumping from pole to stage, platform, and all this stuff. Like, how was that the first time you started doing this?
Okay, well, when I started, the first thing they had me do before I started any rehearsals was to do trapeze. They sent me out to Circus Warehouse, and they were like, we need to make sure that you can do this. Because, it's crazy. I never in a million years thought that I would be learning how to do the trapeze, you know? And at first, it was absolutely terrifying and so painful. And I was like, I don't want to do it. But now I absolutely love it. And I feel like I'm like a quarter cool as you, or maybe like an 18th, or I don't know, something. But yeah, no, it was really, really difficult. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever done, but it is super, super fun.
So you have no safety net?
No. There I am. That is why I have been working out every single day, because I want to be able to catch myself if I fall out of something, you know?
Yeah, it seems like there's nobody in the cast who gets off easy. Like, I saw Annie Potts, I was like, okay, they won't make her get up on the trapeze, and then there she is, and she's in amazing shape. But do you ever make her say, Ghostbusters, what do you want?
Yes.
I want to. I know. I really do.
Is she cool about that?
I think she would just leave. If
she was
just like, I'm leaving.
So you ever played the guitar before?
I had played like chords and things, but like like playing and singing and
Right.
acting at the same time is completely different. And like finger picking is what I'm doing, and so they put me in guitar lessons.
Wow, one of the great things I feel like probably for you guys is after this show, the next thing you do will probably be much easier.
Without a doubt.
It was kind of nice to see you guys actually sing the songs and kind of appreciate just the song, because there's so much going on behind you. It's kind of like a Broadway show with a real circus behind it. But it was really cool to see you guys kind of these songs are really good too, because there's so many. It's like there's Easter eggs. At one point, you did a magic trick back there during the show with the whole.
Yeah.
Who?
The levitation.
Didn't you do like a
the
levitation
levitation
trick?
cloth? I do.
So you don't even remember.
I don't even. My brain is fried. All of the magic tricks I do. I don't know.
When you go into audition for something like this, is it just the song, or do they go, okay, you did the song, now do a backflip and all that stuff, or is it?
No, they didn't expect us to know how to do those things. We were really lucky that they really taught us all of the magic tricks, all of the acrobatics, all of the dance, stuff like that. Dance was part of our audition, and the scenes and everything like that. It was a pretty standard audition, but then afterwards they were like, the first thing you need to start doing now is trapeze and this and that and this and that, all the magic tricks and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
because we have circus training every day, and we still have it for an hour before the show.
Wow.
And we have a separate circus trainer.
Yeah,
named Tony,
Hernandez, who is really incredible and takes a lot of time with both of us because we need it.
Yeah.
How's it working with that dog?
The dog. That was another thing.
The tiny little dog.
Yeah. Well, Bethany's really like our dog trainer. Actually.
I trained dogs before I got into theater, so that was kind of lucky.
So random, right?
So random. I put you on our resumes. We put special skills at the very bottom, and like ballroom dancing or something random like that. And I put dog show handling and dog trainer. And our director Diane Paula said, "Oh, so you do train dogs? Would you mind doing that on Broadway?" Of course. So that was really fun. Well, hopefully
That's the only reason, yeah.
Every little bit helps, right?
Every little bit helps. So, But yeah, our dog right now, his name is Barnum. Haha, funny. And one of the most fun I've had was working with Barnum and Kyle Dean at the same time because their put-ins and their first shows were the same show. So we were training both of them at the same time.
Do you ever have to like tap on the ground to get Kyle Dean to go where he needs to go?
I like treats. I like treats too.
He won't hit that last note unless you give him a little snack.
So Bethany and Orion, you guys have been in the show since it was, I can't say the beginning. I mean, the beginning of the revival.
Before the beginning,
Before the beginning.
Workshops and Boston out-of-town tryout. And
So how did that process work? Because I know with new shows, they go through all the script revisions and the scene changes and like it cut whole numbers and whole characters at some points. But like this was a well-established, I guess, oiled machine from the 70s, right? So then how did it work bringing it back this time?
Well, I think the biggest challenge was to really bring Circus and the Fosse style and the whole storytelling aspect together and really making it seamless. And I think that is what the workshops, like that was what it was all about. And the acrobats had to do Fosse dancing and the Fosse dancers had to do a little acrobats. Very, very little. So it was all about, and telling the story, and it was pushing the story along, and Diane Paulus wouldn't let anything happen on the stage unless you could answer why. Like, why would you do that there? Why put the trick there? And I think that is what made this show so brilliant and seamless and a beautiful Circus Fosse piece.
So was there stuff that was tried initially that eventually got dropped?
Yeah, a lot.
There was a lot of acrobatics that got dropped. When I first came to the show, I got a call to do it, and I was like, well, yeah, I come, and I came, and I showed them my roller bowler, and they had no idea. They were like, well, what's roller bowler? And I was like, well, I'll show you. And Diane was like, well, I don't know if we can put that in there. I was like, just watch it. And she was like, all right, yeah, that's going in. Yeah. You're going to open the second act with that. Yeah. And that managed to stay, but there was a lot of acrobatic tricks that got dropped that didn't make sense to the show. Let's say in Extraordinary, we used to do Russian bar, which is a bar that goes from one shoulder to somebody else's shoulder, and somebody stands on it and they flip really high. But it was taking too much attention away from the story, so it just didn't make sense. The whole audience would be like, whoa, whoa. And Pippin would be like, didn't make it. He's like, I'm extraordinary, not him. Why? So stuff like that had to be cut, you know.
Wow.
So I don't know if you want to talk about this, but we heard that you had an injury during rehearsals.
No, I never get hurt. I broke my back. Snapped it right for the middle.
Was it doing the rollabola?
No, it was doing an acrobatic trick. We were in the middle of rehearsing. We were doing 12-hour days, and I was doing an acrobatic trick with another guy, Yannick, original cast, and I was doing a backflip off of him, and something happened, cage, and I ended up breaking my back, and I stood up. I was like, oh man, that didn't feel right. And then a few weeks down the line, I was like, oh, this is not getting any better, and I started to sweat a lot, and then a month in, I was like, oh, I might have to go to the doctor, so I went next month. And then it was 2 months, and then I went to the doctor, and he did the MRI, and then I didn't go back to the MRI for another 3 weeks. And the doctor called me, and I was like, hey, your back's broken. I was like, huh. It's really funny, I mean. And he was like, you need to come out the show now, because it wasn't healing. It was moving. Every time I do a big trick, and yeah, it was like,
I hate when that happens.
Yeah. So they stuck me in a brace, and they were like, you're done. You're finished. You might never tumble again. And 4 months later, I made a full recovery and came back in the show. Stop it. Shut up. Stop it.
So you said you broke it doing some tumbling that you don't get to do, or that you were rehearsing for something else, or is it something?
No, it was in the show. It's still in the show.
So what?
Yeah.
What do you? Oh, good.
You realize your whole story sounds like a superhero backstory, right? just saying, when this is done, you
Yeah.
can be Batman.
Okay. That's what I'm working towards.
What?
So.
What else can you do that we don't see in the show? I mean, you've got, since you were 8, you said you've been training.
Yeah.
So what else? What's on your resume?
Not impressed by the roly thing? What else you got?
Yeah. What more do you want me to do?
I'm to see if you can like work here, maybe. I don't know.
I can do this thing that looks like my thumbs. I don't know if
Yeah. It's better if you never do that again. I can act. I think I can act.
you can. I saw it.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
good.
trying to become an actor. I switched to Broadway from Circus because I wanted to be an actor. Yeah.
So
He's doing a great job.
yeah. So
He's doing a real good job.
like for you guys who are on Broadway, would you ever consider like a circus career, or how do you equate?
You just heard the man. He said he broke his back and he kept going. No. That would be the end of me. No. I couldn't imagine.
So this, for Ryan, for you, for I would feel like theater is very transient in itself anyway, but like circus, I would feel it was even more so. Is this like the first regular gig, I guess, regular paycheck that's been coming in?
It is definitely. When I first came onto the show, and that first paycheck came through, I was like, whoa, whoa. And I've been steady on this show for a while now, and they want to keep me. But it's definitely the most regular thing I've ever done. You know, I've been all around the world performing with my family, but I've been hungry. That's a circus performer's life. And going to the doctors was for me to actually be able to go to the doctors. They were like, "Yeah, go." I was like, "Oh, that's going to be too expensive." They're like, "No, it's covered. You've got insurance." And I was like, all right, yeah. So I was too afraid to go. I would like get to the door and I'd be like waiting for them to ask me for money, and they'd be like, "You can go now." I'd be like, "What? Okay." Yeah.
I hesitate to ask this, but have there been any other mishaps during performances? I mean, it seems like with anybody.
I mean, maybe not as major as breaking the back, but
Sure.
every night there's something.
Yeah.
There's always something. But that's live theater. Yeah, So
But it doesn't seem like a regular show where it looks like there's zero margin for error. I mean, there's stuff going on that you have to walk through, and I mean, can you go through what safety precautions are taken for knife throwing? Is that just
Get out of the way.
Don't get hit by the
yeah,
knife.
get
I mean,
out
is
of
that
it.
it? I mean,
Don't
is
be
there
there.
like a special suit someone's wearing that's a little? I mean, I don't know. No, but the one lady's
Shark
got
suit.
on kind of a bodysuit, and I thought maybe it was like chainmail in there or something.
I wear chainmail. I actually wear chainmail, but
No.
no, I mean,
Wow, so that's pretty incredible.
just move.
Be aware.
Well, you were in Spider-Man. Are you kind of ready to be in a show that's
think.
not insane?
Yeah, well, this actually feels a little bit more insane. Like, we're not flying as high, but we also don't have any safety wires in the show. Where in Spider-Man, I got to do some flying at the very, very beginning of the show, and they released us, and we float over the audience and things like that. And that was all great, but there were like 2 safety lines on every single person. And whenever you do a flip, when people are jumping through the air, there's no safety net, there's no safety wire. It is purely dependent on the people on stage and not technical things, which I like better. Like, you, especially with this cast, we all trust each other more than any group of people that I've ever been a part of. And whenever you work together this closely and you know that you have to be on mentally and physically every single night, because if you're just a little bit late, there's somebody flying through the air that you could cause an injury or to them or you. So yeah,
It's a little more reliable than a wire sometimes.
A wire
Just
that-
you care.
yeah, if it's what was it, like a half an inch off, then the e-stop, the emergency stop would go off. So that's why we had Spider-Man dangling over the audience a bunch of times, and we got really used to, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna hold. And,
Do you think do you think shows like Spider-Man kind of upped the ante for Broadway in general? I mean, because I felt like watching it the show, I felt like, wow, this is Pippin on steroids. It was really. I mean, I don't know. I've never seen a production of Pippin before, but it felt like this was like the
I
super.
think that's just the
duper
general
version.
state of Broadway. Honestly, I think
Yeah.
Broadway has increasingly become more spectacular, and people settle down for longer runs than they used to, so they're willing to put more money into the show to begin with. But I don't know. I think it's just the audience expect that. It's not necessarily Broadway. It's just what people want. You know, when you're paying that kind of money to see a show, people like to see their money on stage. They do. They like to feel wowed by everything. You like for it to hit everywhere, which I think Pippin does.
I think so.
Oh yeah.
Pippin does very well.
So if James Cameron were to direct Pippin,
Avatar the music.
oh god, yeah. Can you imagine an avatar doing the handstand on the rollabolas? Is that what it's called? Yeah. So the technology obviously though has changed I guess the expectation, but Pippin is still like, I guess I didn't feel like the set was taken, it didn't, the technology didn't detract from the story, and because it's still very simple at heart. Like there was 2 levels I think at any given time, and that's really it. And there's no like $70 million LCD screens everywhere, so the story is still very solid.
Yeah, it felt like most of the effects were all man-made. That was what was kind of refreshing about it. It was all based on just human tricks. There was like magic of every kind. But does anybody have any questions out in the?
Oh yeah, if there's questions, please hit the aisle microphones. The what?
It's like Donahue.
Yeah, excuse me, the guy in the green shirt.
So I guess this is kind of a question for all of you. I mean, you do 8 shows a week, right? And the show is not easy physically. How do you keep yourself from just falling over?
Caffeine.
Adrenaline. I don't.
I just eat a lot. I have to eat a lot. I'm not even kidding. I mean, I have to eat so much to not crash, because I don't ever leave the stage. So I have to like drink a lot of water before the act, because we have water hidden for me on stage in a couple places. But once you're on there, you can't like be like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom, y'all. Like there's none of that.
Yeah, is there like a physical warm-up? I mean, I know you got to warm up your voice and hit those notes, but is there like how long do you have to take to sort of warm up your whole instrument before?
Well, I mean, we do training every day still, yeah.
We like to be on stage warming up a whole hour before, just to warm up. But we like to train too, so we like warm up and we're training as we're warming up what we would be doing in the show. So it's not like we're just sitting there stretching. We're also doing what we'd be doing in the show backstage, like running it before it happens. So it's a solid hour every single day before the show. Yeah.
It's not one you can phone in.
No, if you don't warm up when you're an acrobat, you just really ruin your body. And I think that's something Carl Dean is realizing now when you're doing big tricks every single day.
I've been taking a bath almost every night.
Yeah.
Like at Epsom salt, yeah. I like wake up every day. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Is there a tour of the show that's happening yet, or
Yeah, it's going out in September. Is that right, Heath? It begins in September. Yeah. It's a national tour, and it's booked in several cities already. I don't know how many cities it's actually been revealed in yet, so I don't think I can say. But yeah, it's a full national tour.
Are they going to be able to do all the bells and whistles and travel that around? It seems.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
Cirque du Soleil sets up a tent in parking lots, so this is.
I know, but I'm having trouble getting my head around it. There's fire in the show.
Fire doesn't travel.
I don't know. Do you have to have a guy with like an extinguisher there at all times?
We do.
We have a fire marshal.
Actually, it's really funny because you said there was fire just the other night. 2 nights ago, the wicks on the fire torches, you got to change them every week. So, more like every 2 weeks because they burn down very quickly. And they won't hold the fuel, so the fuel will flick off and like get you in the eye, and it's hot, and you're juggling fire. You're like, just dripping. And the other night, I had one of the fire torches, and the wicks had burned down a little too much, and it swiped through my leg, and my leg caught on fire right here. Lucky.
And you're not wearing pants.
No, lucky. I was, my left side was toward the audience, so all my hair was like, and I was just like, nobody know this. Just carried on with the show.
So Sierra, you much like Pippin are fresh out of college. You know, this is your second Broadway show, correct? Right? Yeah. So like you were in Big Fish, and then now you are the ringleader in Pippin. So I hope that you stay in the show for many years and as long as you would like. But next in your career, what do you see yourself like? What is your meaty role that you would like to just sink your teeth into?
Oh, I mean, I want to do a lot of things. I've always said that Alpha Buzz, like it's a dream of mine. It is. Call me corny, whatever. It is. I want to do it. I want to be green and fly. No, but I mean, I kind of got like a slight taste of originating with Big Fish. I mean, I was late into the project, so a lot of things had already been set, but I still had a lot of freedom to kind of, work around that. But I would really like to start working on more original projects and, be with something the whole way through. And I'm actually, I'm working on a workshop now, and, I like that. I like being a part of the creative process and being a part of the family from the very beginning. I mean, it's so amazing stepping into this group because they've been so amazing and so open, and like it's just like a great mix of people with the acrobats and the theater people, because we're from totally different worlds but also very similar. We have
Everybody
so much in
along.
common, and then that's the thing is like we really do. I mean, there's always going to be drama and whatever, we're humans, but it's really very chill. And it was really awesome to step into this group and it be so warm and open. But it would also be, really great to be there doing it from the beginning and like really creating with a group of people. So I think, hopefully that's what's next.
It'd be nice to see you play somebody nice.
That would be nice too, yeah.
I was ready to be scared of you because you were really scary up there.
I know, I've been a scary witch and now I'm a scary MC, and I don't know.
A lot of the logic of this play it almost feels like it's kind of taking place in a dream in a way. There's things that kind of, it's like, spoiler alert, like, you stab your father, and then he comes back to life. Like, is there a challenge of, like, how do you play this? Do you play this really real, or do you play it...
Yes, 100%. I'm not even kidding. I dream about it almost every night still. Like, what is happening in the scene? What do I because there's so the premise of the show is that we are performers of a circus troupe, and we're putting on the show Pippin for you tonight. And I am a character playing Pippin in the show of Pippin. So there are many times where you're like, am I really Pippin, or am I this dude playing Pippin? And does Pippin feel this, or does the dude playing Pippin feel this? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And you're like, it's hurting my head to even think about it. And like I've figured it out, in moments, but it gives you a lot of, I guess, kind of freedom to kind of just do it differently every night.
I'm sure the director probably helps a little bit.
No. No, because it's a very individualistic kind of thing. I think we've all found our own things there, and it's not something that someone can tell you, well, that's what it is, because they don't know. The people that wrote it don't know. It's and I think the people that watch the show have their own personal idea of what happens with the show, and that's what we're going for. So.
Yeah, it does have a kind of open canvas sort of feel to it. Like, it could be so many different things. You got anything?
We have a question over here. Yes.
Hi. I was just wondering, do you guys have any kind of, stories that you go back to that are like, oh, do you guys remember that one time, that all the cast remembers, like, oh, that one time that everything was crazy backstage, or, somebody changed something up and it was totally hilarious.
Andrew Fitch.
In the beginning of the show, there's a big curtain that comes down, and when we were first starting the show, way back in Cambridge, there was something wrong with the mechanics of the curtain. So we'd all be in the background, getting pumped up, hitting each other. That's what acrobats do, pumping each other up, getting in our big acrobatic tricks, and then the curtain's supposed to drop, and it just doesn't drop, and we're all like stuck for like a minute, and it doesn't drop, and everybody's just like, backstage, and it happened 3 times. Oh, in the first week of performances. So every night we were like, is it going to drop? Is it going to drop? Is it going to drop? And then it drops. We're like, yeah! Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Got another one?
Yeah. I was particularly interested by you talking about how individual and experienced playing each of these characters are, and I always thought that was very interesting, specifically when you're, not the original cast of a certain character, because there might be certain jokes or tellings of jokes that people come to anticipate, they come to expect. I have tickets for Pippin, I haven't seen it yet, but from experience, for example, in Wicked, there are certain lines, especially in that you come to expect. So I'm wondering, how much influence do you feel from previous performances of it, if that performance was 30 years ago or 2 weeks ago, that affects you, or how much of it is just, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it?
I think that's the nature of being a replacement, is that a lot of times, where other people have had workshops and readings and out-of-town tryouts and previews and all that sort of thing to kind of hone their performance, when you are a replacement, you are kind of put into the show and you go, and it's kind of like we're still in our own previews. So there are lots of things where you're like, okay, that's working, so I'm going to, that can work for me, so I'm going to use that because I know that is working. But I think Sierra and I, like with every show, we're already finding what's working for us, and there are certain things that we do that land better or land at all, that are different than the people we replaced, and there are things that they will always do better than we did. And so sometimes you abandon that and you're like, well, why do I need that laugh? I don't need that laugh, like who said that part was funny ever? You kind of, you can let some of those things go, but yeah, it's tricky. I mean, because we watched the show for many weeks, so we had those things in our head. So part of it is just kind of letting yourself be free once you get on stage, because the audience is very important in the show.
And I think at the very beginning, watching it and getting that framework and kind of trying out those things that they do, those certain line readings or whatever, trying them out, seeing how they fit, understanding why they do it that way, and then, the more you do it, the more you get into the character, you're living in the life of the show, then you start to make your own choices. And sometimes, I don't necessarily sit down and think, okay, I'm going to put the emphasis on this word or that word. You know what I mean? You just kind of, whatever comes out of your mouth, whatever happens, you know what I mean? And whatever you're feeling that night. And, I found a lot of things in the first week that were like, oh, you can't really do that differently because it didn't work at all. So, now I some things I do the same as Bettina, and some things I do completely different. And I'm finding new things every day. So, yeah.
We got a question over here. Yeah.
Do you ever get nervous before the show starts or anything?
As a general rule, I feel like I don't get very nervous because my motto to myself is, if you are prepared, there's no reason to be nervous. And so I just try to live by that. However, for this show, because it is definitely the biggest thing I've ever done thus far in my life, I thought I was going to throw up on our first night. I have never been that nervous, ever, 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 because there's just so much flying by you at all times, and you have to be super aware, because it is super dangerous if you mess up. I mean, you don't want to do that, and it's, there's so many lines and all this Fosse dancing that I've never done.
I was going to ask you about the Fosse dancing, because you've got all the acrobatic stuff, and you've got all the notes and everything, but then you've got to do this very precise,
specific
Fosse
dance
routine
that I only hope, I only hope and pray that I am doing justice, because I did not have any kind of Fosse training before going into auditions for this. I danced in college, but I am, that's not my strongest suit, but it's super fun to do this dance. It's so much more specific than I've ever worked before, and I'm glad to have been taught this, just like the trapeze. I never thought I'd be doing that, and here,
Yeah, it's almost like doing a small card trick as opposed to like a huge magic trick.
Yeah,
but I was noticing the precision that you guys had on that, and was pretty good.
Well, thank you.
Well, it has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be. It's Fosse. That's the whole style is very, very precise. So yeah, I guess we have no more questions. Anybody else? And we can let's wrap this up. Oh.
One more.
Doing? Yeah, good. Staying on.
Yeah.
Just because we're at Google, home of YouTube, I just want to ask you guys if you've ever messed around with making any original content on YouTube. And if you haven't, for the acrobatic gentleman, I'd like to suggest a channel called The Amazing Indestructible Acrobat. Get a lot of hits, bro.
That's your superhero name.
Would he just throw things at his chest?
It doesn't matter. When this guy talks, everybody's like, oh my God. He's married.
Well, I actually have been shooting like a documentary over the last few years. I'm not, growing up in the circus, I didn't go on the computer very much. So now I've got like, the Facebook and all of that stuff. And I try and go on it at least
Google
once
Plus.
a week, And everybody's like, how comes you never, I've got like a Twitter and I've done 3 posts, but it's been 8 months. It's just not how I grew up family, we spend time with each other. And so I'm getting used to this whole new world. So I'm shooting this documentary and I'll bring it out soon. And it's got some crazy stuff in, some crazy
I
stuff.
bet.
Yeah.
I do a backstage blog at Pippin that's published on YouTube every Thursday.
Where do we find it?
I don't know. Where did you-
Is it? It's
Broadway. It's Broadway.com is the
yeah.
like edits it for me and everything like that. And I've been shooting some today of y'all's like awesome cafeteria. But yeah, it's called Fresh Prince.
Fresh what?
Fresh Prince.
Oh.
Because I play Prince in the show.
Prince Pippin.
And
And he always catches me without my makeup on, so
Yeah.
thank you for that.
but yeah, for the
So
show I have that.
you can bring it up here. Have you
it's
can
all
have-
the way over there.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll wrap this up anyway. So yeah, everybody, please give him another round of applause. This has been incredible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go see Pippin.
Go see Pippin.